Mark Wheatley, and welcome to episode 170 of the Weekly Wheatley podcast. I don't know why I'm sounding so, froggish in the throat, but anyway. Thanks for joining us wherever you are doing so. A big thanks to Emer Brennan for coming on last week to talk about art and illustration, and in particular her connection with art and nature, and how mostly nature inspires her work, and how she kind of works with nature to produce the drawings that she does. So please go over to emerbrennan.com or find her on Instagram and check out her stuff. Obviously it's for sale, and some beautiful illustrations there. And like we mentioned, for yourself, or even for your kids, it's very I suppose appealing to anybody really, and of all ages. So thanks to Emer for coming on. You can support us on Buy Me a Coffee if you like. The link is usually in the YouTube description. For some reason, Anchor has decided to, once you put something up, you can't edit in a link, which is a new thing to them. But then I realized that Anchor has been taken over by Spotify, so that makes a lot of sense. Just a dig at Spotify there. Follow Lucky Works Co. .podcast. It's another podcast I've been doing with my friend Josh. It's his podcast, but I'm just tagging along for fun at his request for some reason. Maybe it's because I've done 170 episodes now of this. So this podcast is called Moods in Music. I put out a video, almost like a request video, a couple of weeks ago, asking could people send in maybe songs that maybe about depression, or songs that are about anxiety, or even songs that bring anxiety to them, that make them anxious. And I got some lovely replies, which I'll get to, and I'll read through them and try to remember who sent me them. I think I made notes, so I think we're okay. But so this kind of idea came from my disappointment and from not being able to go to Malaga to the competition. I said I wouldn't do a podcast episode about this on a video I put up on Instagram, and I'm not going to, but I just want to lead in with it. So I broke a rib, as I mentioned before on the podcast, and I couldn't do the competition. And then unfortunately anxiety got the better of me, and I was pretty down about it. I was up in Dublin with my mum for a few days. So she had to put up with me for a few days of being, moody, and no better person to do it, to be fair. But so it brought me back to an episode that I did a long time ago with Bernadette Moran, and she's a music therapist. So it got me kind of thinking about, like, when I was up in Dublin, I had time to think, and I was doing a lot of walking and a lot of running, and had time to myself. And time when I was kind of looking in rather than at the stuff around me, because it didn't. I suppose the stuff around me wasn't very appealing at that moment, in the sense of, once I looked on the outside, it became a kind of every time I thought about, obviously I thought about Malaga, I thought about what was going on, and people were over there doing the competition, enjoying themselves, and I kind of got, it was pretty, I felt very bleak, I suppose, and very anxious and disappointed. And then when I started looking internally, then it was kind of questioning myself and questioning everything that was happening, questioning like how powerful this anxiety is and how powerful it will remain, or how can I chip away at it a little bit. So I started thinking about, therapy and music, and I started to, obviously I was out walking, listening to music, things like that. And this kind of led me down the path of what I thought of music, in the sense when the writer was speaking about depression, anxiety, not, and by the way, I'm not talking about love songs and heartbreak, and that's a different kind of thing. I was literally talking about songwriters writing about their own depression and things like that. Okay. And so what I was going to do with this episode, I was going to play some songs in the background while I was talking about them. But the last time I tried to do that, what happened was people couldn't hear the music. Now, that's obviously to do with my mic setting, and I could probably set it better. if you're looking at the screen now, I'm pointing at there's where the settings are on the mic. Still haven't read the instructions. I just know this works for this, and when Josh is around, I can change the setting to when everybody can, when it does the surround sound, and myself and Josh can talk. So I don't know, and I don't want to just say, oh, listen to this bit of the song and it's not playing. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to um read some of the lyrics that out of these songs, and give you the idea of what I can relate to within the songs. So I always go to, there's many songs I think about, talk very well about depression, um, and mental illness and things. But one that stands out to me a lot is Outshined by the band Soundgarden. Now, Soundgarden were a rock band. I think they did, they are thrown in as grunge, but to be fair to them, their first album is quite grungy. And then they went off into a different direction, which you wouldn't really call them grunge. Obviously, they're from the area where grunge, Seattle, up in the state of Washington, and that's where the grunge explosion took off. So most bands were kind of thrown in there anyway. So I'm going to read some of the lyrics now and kind of dig into what I think it's about, and my interpretation, I guess. So it starts off. Chris Cornell wrote this song, by the way. He writes the lyrics for Soundgarden. He's an amazing songwriter. If you don't know who Chris Cornell is, a lot of his songs, I shouldn't say a lot of his songs, but some of his songs are about depression, are very upfront about them. He's not being subtle about his lyrics. And unfortunately, Chris Cornell took his own life. I think it was maybe 6 years ago, 5 years ago. He was in his 50s, and I suppose he just felt that he'd come to the end of a life which had a bit of turbulence in it. He did have drug dependencies and things that he would kick and then go back into it and stuff like that. But so I'm going to read. So, okay. So the first verse is, I got up feeling so down. I got off being sold out. I've kept the movie rolling, but the story's getting old now, which is, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Well, I just looked in the mirror. This is my favorite line of the all, actually. Well, I just looked in the mirror and things aren't looking so good. I'm looking California and feeling Minnesota, which is, I think, is an absolutely great line. California being sunny and, all, well, people like to think of it as all happy, and then Minnesota is quite a colder and darker place. So, one of my favorite lines, probably in music, I would say. The lyrics then of the chorus are slightly different and slightly more vague, but so the show me the power, child. I'd like to say that I'm down on my knees today. Yeah, it gives me the butterflies, gives me away till I'm up on my feet again. Hey, I'm feeling outshined. And he repeats outshined. My interpretation of that, so that's a little more subtle of what he's talking about, but um, I think, show me the power, child. I like to say that I'm down on my knees today is kind of maybe looking for strength, when you are down on your knees, as he says, or struggling. Um, it gives me the butterflies, gives me away till I'm up on my feet again. So again, that the idea of this power that he's looking for and that he's getting, um, gives him butterflies, makes him anxious, makes him nervous, but it gets him back on his feet. And I think the whole thing about outshined is he's literally being outshined by his depression, um, mental illness, whatever way you want to call it. We'll go with depression for this one, but he repeats outshine 4 times, which is, I think it's telling enough. I think Chris Cornell is an incredibly intelligent songwriter, and I think he puts his words out there. For like, he's not hiding behind anything in this song. So the second verse is, someone let the dogs out, they'll show you where the truth is. The grass is always greener where the dogs are shedding. Well, I'm feeling that I'm sober, even though I'm drinking, but I can't get any lower. Still, I feel I'm sinking. So again, he does talk about dependency, or, the idea of, drinking away, almost drinking away until you're sober. I can't get any lower. Still, I feel I'm sinking, which is a great summation of depression, where you do feel. No, the thing about Malaga was I wasn't in my bipolar lower. I think I was just feeling I was just struggling a lot with uh, how it kind of anxiety had defeated me, and I can totally relate to the idea of not. I think I'm at my lowest point, but I'm still sinking down. The pre-chorus so now you know who gets mystified. Um, that one's kind of that's kind of tougher for me to kind of. That's a obviously would it's all personal to Chris Cornell, but um, like who gets mystified is one that I've always tried to think of what he means within the context of a song of this song, but I think he's maybe I don't know, he's being more vague in that bit, I think. Um, are you mystified by the illness, or mystified by the idea of trying to wash away the illness with drink and that could be it. Um and then he goes back into the chorus again. Show me the power, child. I'd like to say that I'm down on my knees today. Yeah, it gives me the butterflies, gives me away till I'm up on my feet again. And he repeats that four times, and he repeats the line at the end, outshine, four times as well. And you got to really listen to the song of along with the music of what he's doing, because I think that when he sings the outshined word four times at the end, it gets more and more powerful. Now, Chris Cornell is one of the greatest rock and roll singers of all time. Some would say the greatest. He's right up there. Um, and those last four outshine, as you can hear it in his voice, that the push, that drive to kind of really put the point across about being outshined and feeling, I suppose, a little bit hopeless and feeling mystified, as he says himself. And this kind of was the song that kind of led me into this podcast, this idea of this podcast. And I what I did was I wrote down some of the songs that I think are about it, and then obviously took some of the others. So, um, I wanted to talk a bit because this is everybody knows, like who listens to this podcast of my, well, they should do, of my love for Radiohead. Um, and what, like, I've been into Radiohead for years and years, but there's one song in particular which, before I even knew of my own little, my own problems with mental health and mental illness, I'd heard this song a number of times, and this song speaks more about, to me, speaks more about anxiety than any others. So the lyrics aren't very long, but I'll explain a little bit more in depth what I know about this song after I read them. So it starts, that there, that's not me. I go where I please. I walk through walls. I float down the Liffey. I'm not here. This isn't happening. I'm not here. In a little while, I'll be gone. The moment's already passed. Yeah, it's gone. And I'm not here. This isn't happening. Strobe lights and blown speakers, fireworks and hurricanes. I'm not here. This isn't happening. Okay, so that's all it is. Okay. Now I know that Tom York wrote this song after a gig in Dublin in was it RDS? It might have been the RDS. Now at this point, this was the biggest gig that Radiohead were going to play. It was 35,000 people, I think. And just before they went on stage, Tom York had this panic attack. He'd never had a panic attack before. Um, so I suppose at the time he wasn't sure what it was, and the whole idea of stage fright may have popped into his head. But he had this panic attack, and obviously he had to go on stage, and he felt when he was on stage that he was somewhere else. Okay, um, or imagined to be himself somewhere else. His good friend Michael Stipe from the band REM then told him what he does when he feels anxious. He says to himself, "I'm not here. This isn't happening." So Tom York thought, well, that's a great line, and use it for this song. The song is really, like, you have to listen to this song, "How to Disappear Completely." It's such a beautiful song about such a kind of I suppose kind of tender and fragile moment, in someone's life when the idea of being not here and this isn't happening. Like the lines, strobe lights and blown speakers, fireworks and hurricanes. I'm not here. This isn't happening. Some might say that that line is taken from their experience in 1997 on the Glastonbury stage, where they couldn't see the crowd because the lights. One point, Tom York asked them to turn on the lights so you could see the crowd. There was fireworks in the background. blown speakers, their PAs, their monitors in front of them blew, and it didn't work. And look, they add in obviously fireworks and hurricanes is big, or sorry, hurricanes is a big event, and then saying again, "I'm not here. This isn't happening. I'm not here." Um, this when I found out that this is about, and Michael Stipe's suggestion to Tom York, I just love the mantra of being in a situation where you are absolutely terrified and in a panic attack or an anxious state, and being able to reel out this mantra to help. And obviously it helps Michael Stipe, and maybe hopefully it helped Tom York. And it's such an easy there's not many lyrics in the song, but I don't think it's very difficult to understand what it's about. I think you need to look, like when you're talking about Outshined by Soundgarden, you need to look into it a little bit more. You need to dig a little deeper in the lyrics, particularly in the chorus and things like about being mystified and things. Uh, but in this one, you don't. And I think Tom York, I think it's Tom York's favorite song that he's written in Radiohead anyway. Um, and I think because it's such a personal thing for Tom York that it's right out there. And that's why I like that song about it. I like the song that there's another song that it's so obviously about anxiety. It pretty much says it. There's a song by Bright Eyes called "If the Brakeman Turns My Way," um, and I'll just read out the first verse because this is where he kind of just spells it out. Connor Oberst is the songwriter in Bright Eyes. Um, when panic grips your body and your heart is a hummingbird, raven thoughts blacken your mind until you're breathing in reverse. All your friends and sedatives mean well but make you worse. Every reassurance just magnifies the doubt. Better find yourself a place to level out. And that's the most, upfront um chorus lyrics about anxiety that you'll get. He literally says panic strips your body and a heart's a humming bird, which is a panic attack. Raven thoughts black in your mind, you're breathing in reverse. That's what you feel to kind of catch your breath. But the darkness in your mind, that you get in these moments, maybe thinking that you are having a heart attack. All your friends and sedatives mean well, but make you worse. Sedatives, obviously, taking medication for it. All your friends who really trying their best to help, but maybe don't have the vocabulary to help. Uh, every reassurance just magnifies the doubt, which is just a great self-explanatory line. Better find yourself a place to level out, which is a great line as well, because sometimes you don't know where is that space. You may not even have that space. You may not have a clue, if there is that space available to you, and those people around you are, living with you and trying their best, but they're struggling to help you, and they they obviously really want to. Um, Another interesting, because I didn't want to just talk about people who had themselves suffered from mental illness and ended up taking their own lives. I didn't just want to cram it full of people who did, but it's very hard for me in particular, who was so inspired and such a huge fan of Kurt Cobain, not to add in some Kurt Cobain lyrics. Now, when Kurt Cobain talks about mental illness, or depression, whatever it might be, he kind of covers it up a little bit. So he talks in almost like, if you know the writer William Burroughs, he's a big fan of William Burroughs, but it's a lot of words and images placed within those words to show you what he's talking about, but at the same time cover it up in other things. And sometimes he'll talk about, like, you might hear Kurt Cobain talking about really horrible imagery and thinking, oh, well, I don't know what this song about, but when you dig into it, like, this is he's talking about this imagery because this is what he's seeing, this is how he's feeling. No, I'm no expert, but obviously the song Lithium by Nirvana, which I've mentioned before about I'm on lithium, so I thought it was hilarious when I was walking around to get my first prescription for lithium. But lithium is used as a drug for well, for a number of things, but bipolar disorder being one. And I was there was a lot of Kurt Cobain lyrics that I was thinking about putting in, but I wanted to put in lithium because I think it's a great, it's some people think Kurt Cobain was bipolar. I'm not so sure. I know he suffered with depression. There's no, you know, medical proof that he was bipolar, but I think this song shows some of those, tendencies or whatever you want to call them. So a lot of you will know this song. Um, so the lyrics are, I'm so happy because today I found my friends. They're in my head. I'm so ugly. That's okay because so are you. Broke our mirrors. Sunday morning is every day for all I care, and I'm not scared. Light my candles in a daze because I found God. So, I mean, when you listen to this song, it's just simple, the chord structures and stuff like that. And the way he sings it in a kind of in his softer voice, in a kind of a lullaby kind of way. Um, so I'm so happy, I'm so ugly. Um, he's found his friends, but they're in his head. Um, I'm so ugly, that's okay, because so are you. Broke our mirrors. So that's how ugly we are. We broke our mirrors. But did we break our mirrors really because of that? Or did we, the idea of looking at yourself in the mirror and hating yourself, not because you're ugly, but because you're feeling other things. Sunday morning is every day for all I care, and I'm not scared. Light my candles in a daze because I found God. And I wonder. I'm pretty sure, like Kurt Cobain has talked in lyrics before about God, and I don't think he's a particularly religious person, but there's a kind of a tongue in cheek element to that. The second verse, I'm so lonely, that's okay. I shaved my head and I'm not sad. And just maybe I'm to blame for all I've heard, but I'm not sure. I'm so excited. I can't wait to meet you there and I don't care. I'm so horny, that's okay. My will is good. When we were kids, we used to laugh, like we used to think he was saying my willy's good. I'm so horny, that's okay. My willy's good. We thought it was hilarious. But it's not. I'm so lonely, that's okay. I shaved my head. I'm not sad. So he's all right to be lonely. He shaved his head, which is a kind of, if you think about, especially if you've got long hair and you shave your head, it's quite a statement to make. Um, and just maybe I'm to blame for all I've heard, and I'm not sure. It's a mass of contradictions, really. Like, but that's where you wonder about the bipolar thing, because the up and down nature of the lyrics suggests that it might be about bipolar. Um, I don't know about the "I'm so horny, that's okay, my will is good." I'm not sure what that. I'm still trying to work that out, but maybe. But then, it's okay to have vagueness in there as well. Then he's the refrain, the bridge then is, I like it, I'm not gonna crack. I miss you, I'm not gonna crack. I love you, I'm not gonna crack. I killed you, I'm not gonna crack. So I don't know if he's talking about somebody else or if he's trying to convince himself that he's not gonna crack and that he's gonna have this will to fight it back. By the way, that's the best bit of the song when that kicks in. I will be putting up, I should have said that at the start, I will be putting up on our Facebook and an Instagram page a little playlist of all the songs that I mentioned in this, so you can go back and listen to them. Like I said, didn't want to ruin the podcast by saying, oh, this is this song and it not coming up. But look, most people, in the first few chords of Lithium, they will recognize the song straight away by Nirvana. It's such a famous song. Um, Joanne, friend of the podcast, always responds to any kind of request we put up. Um, she sent me, and people need to check this out on YouTube for sure, right? So she sent me the Hi Ren by the artist Ren, a brilliant guitar player, but he's a rapper, I would say, singer, poet for sure. Now the history of Ren, I read a little up about Ren, and when you watch this video, he's in a psych ward, and he's two different people talking to each other. And I'll probably read, maybe not read all the lyrics, but I'm going to read some of them because it's a long, because of it being rap. But I'm just going to give you an idea of, like, Ren, for since he was 19, was quite ill, and he was kind of stuck in his room, and he thought, I'll never see 30. He didn't know what was wrong with him. All the doctors didn't know what was wrong with him. And it went on for quite a while. And obviously his mental health started to suffer a lot, as did his physical health. Now, it turned out that he had Lyme disease, and as far as I know, he's been quite well since they started treating him for Lyme's disease. But in this song, you can hear the stuff that he's going through. But I can't do justice for the way he does it because it's incredible. So check out Hi Ren by Ren. Check out some of his other stuff as well. He does some great stuff. But so he's talking to himself in this video, or he's talking to his alter ego. Hi there, Ren. It's been a little while. Did you miss me? You thought you'd burn me, didn't you? Risky. Because I always come back. Deep down, you know that. Deep down, you know I'm always in periphery. Ren, aren't you pleased to see me? It's been weeks since we spoke, bro. You know you need me. You're the sheep, I'm the shepherd. Now your place to lead me, not your place to being off the hand that feeds me. Sorry, biting off the hand that feeds me. Hi, Ren. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself since my therapist told me I'm ill. I've been making some progress lately and I've learned some new coping skills. So I haven't really needed you much, man. I think we need to just step back and chill. So it's the argument between, I suppose, what he sees himself or how he should be, and then this other person that's almost like invading in his space, being intrusive in his mind. Ren, you sound more insane than I do. You think that some doctors are really there to guide you. Been through this a million times. Your civilian mind is so perfect at always being lied to. Okay, take another pill, boy. Drown yourself in the sound of white noise. Follow this 10-step program. Rejoice. All your problems will be gone. Fucking dumb boy. Nah, mate, this time it's different, man. Trust me. I feel like things might be falling in place. And my music's been kind of doing bits too. Like I actually might be doing something great. And when I'm gone, maybe I'll be remembered for doing something special with myself. That's why I don't think that we should talk, man, because when you're with me, it never seems to help. You think that you think you can amputate me. I am you, you are me, you are I am we. We are one, split in two that makes one, so you see. You got to kill you if you want to kill me. I'm not leftover dinner, I'm not scraps on the side. Oh, your music is thriving, delusional guy. Where's your top 10 hit? Where's your interview with Oprah? Where are your Grammys, Ren? Nowhere. I like that, like the peak. Going from like someone who's writing songs and trying to get out there, and the alter ego was immediately telling you that you should be, if you think you're good, why haven't you got any Grammys and why haven't you spoken to Oprah? And that we do that all the time as people. Like we can't come out. Like I sometimes I do this with the podcast. I'd be thinking like, oh, like a certain amount of people are listening into the podcast, and you're thinking. One minute you're thinking that's amazing, like how many this many people listen to me talk with obviously brilliant people, but you know what I mean, like this thing that I've set up, and then the other side of me is saying, yeah, well, the amount of listening, that's nothing. Like that doesn't mean anything, you know. So it's funny that that kind of bit stuck with me. So as he's playing this song, so he turns around and he's looking at the camera at one point and he says, "Let me break the fourth wall by acknowledging this song." Ren sits down, has a stroke of genius. He wants to write a song that was not done previous, a battle with his subconscious. Eminem did it, played on guitar. Plan B did it. Man, you're not original, you criminal rip-off artist. The pinnacle of your success is stealing other people's material. Men, Ren, mate, we've heard it all before. Oh, she sells seashells on the seashore. Um, fuck you, I don't need you. I don't need to hear this because I'm fine by myself. I'm a genius and I will be great and I will make waves and I'll shake up the whole world beneath us. I won't read it all because I do think it has to be seen almost to be believed. But I love that fact that, like, he says, a battle with subconscious, Eminem did it, which he did. Played on guitar. Plan B was an English artist who did the same thing. He was a rapper who played guitar, and he's very conscious of what he's doing. It's oh, I'm being great here, but then the other voice is saying you're not, like, you're copying other people. You'll never be great. And look, we have to all deal with that. But when you put that in top with how what I've read about Ren and what he was talking about, I do absolutely love that. And he is a like I said it already, but he is such a good guitar player as well. If you listen to his kind of classical sounding guitar at the start. So he's a great artist. He did a remake of Bittersweet Symphony, and Eva did the video where he's walking down the street and did a rap to it. Um, but he's got a trilogy of, like, he's got Hi Ren and then he's got Hi someone and then Hi someone else. What other names of the please check out Ren and Joanne, thank you, because I might have let that one slip, and that's been the most out there one of recent times that we've had someone talking so openly about mental health, which is obviously great, really. Now, this is one that I wasn't sure about putting on the list. It's a Nine Inch Nails song. A lot of people know it through Johnny Cash. Um, So I'll read the lyrics and give you a little bit of feedback. So, I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. I focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. The needle tears a hole, the old familiar sting. Tried to kill it all away, but I remember everything. What have I become, my sweetest friend? Everyone I know goes away in the end. And you could have it all, my empire of dirt. I will let you down, I will make you hurt. I wear this crown of thorns upon my liar's chair, full of broken thoughts I cannot repair. Beneath the stains of time, the feelings disappear. You are someone else, I am still right here. What have I become, my sweetest friend? Everyone I know goes away in the end. I could start sorry, if I could start again a million miles away, I would keep myself, I would find a way. And look, I know that this song is about heroin addiction, like the lyric, the needle tears a hole, the old familiar sting kind of gives that away. Trent Reznor is the songwriter, and he obviously very open about his dependency at the time on heroin. I think Johnny Cash brought um a different meaning to it at the age that Cash sang it at. He was he died soon after the recording of the song, but in the way he delivers the song, it does give a different meaning to it. I'm not like I think this is about the immediate effect that you feel um from knowing that you're dependent on a drug that you don't want to be on, and how it has an effect on all the friends. Everyone I know goes away in the end. The idea of pushing away people. Um, I think Alice in Chains are another band that wrote about um depression and through the idea of heroin dependency, and the songwriter wasn't the one that was on heroin, but he was looking through the singer Lane Staley's eyes and seeing what he was like in heroin, and knowing that Lane Staley was going to deliver these lyrics, and he wrote in that sense, which is, I don't know how you would get in that headspace, but I do think Hurt is one of those ones where it's depression from something else that you're doing that's leading to it. I wanted to put it in there because I mean it's just an incredible um piece of music. I think you should listen to both, because I think more people know the Johnny Cash one of its heavy rotation when it came out, but definitely listen to Nine Inch Nails one, because it's you might be surprised about the power of it. My sister-in-law Breed sent me one, and this was a song I was not aware of, and it's right out there with regards to how this person sees their own anxiety. And the person, the songwriter is called Bellhold. Is that right? Did I spell that right? Bayhold, probably Beihold. And it's called Numb Little Bug. And I did listen to it. It's more of a poppy song, but what I like about it is the difference between the music and the lyrics. So I don't feel a single thing. Have the pills done too much? Haven't caught up with my friends in weeks, and now we're out of touch. I've been driving in LA. Sorry, I've been driving in LA, and the world it feels too big, like a floating ball that's bound to break. Snap my psyche like a twig. And I just want to see if you feel the same as me. Do you ever get a little bit tired of life? Like you're not really happy, but you don't want to die. Like you've, sorry, like you were hang, sorry, like you were hanging by a thread, but you got to survive because you got to survive. Like your body's in the room, but you're not really there. Like you have empathy inside you, but you don't really care. Like you're fresh out of love, but it's been in the air. Am I past repair? Um, a little bit tired of trying to care what I don't. A little bit tired of quick repairs to cope. I feel a little bit tired of sinking. There's water in my boat. I'm barely breathing, trying to stay afloat. So I got these quick repairs to cope because I'm just broken and broke. The prescription's on its way with a name I can't pronounce, and the dose I got to take, boy, I wish that I could count. Um, I mean, it's so honest, you know what I mean, in the lyrics. The pills, have the pills done much, like that question of, hold on one second, sorry, I need to blow my nose, and you know the way I don't like to blow my nose on the mic. Yeah, that thing about, I don't feel a single thing. Have the pills done too much? Haven't caught up with my friends in weeks, and now we're out of touch. You know, how easy it is to kind of pull yourself away from your friends when you are feeling like that. How easy it is to think that the medication that you're going to take is the be all and end all. This is the rescue, and the disappointments of it when it's not, when it doesn't work like that. Um, uh, do you ever get a bit tired of life? Like you're not really happy, but you don't want to die. That's like the purgatory area, which I've found myself in so many times, and I feel like that when I'm in my lows. Sometimes when I'm in my highs, I feel like that, but you just can't find the level ground of where you should be, and you don't want to die. It's not about that. You're not thinking about like taking your own life. It's nothing to do with that. But you think about it in the sense of, well, what's the point if I can't find the point in life? You know what I mean? It's probably doesn't make any sense. But if you can't really find that bit, that the moment where you're happy or you feel good, then what's the point in being around if you can't do that? Um, like you have another line there, like you have empathy inside, but you don't really care, and you tend to have empathy for other people, but you don't really care about yourself. Um, and the thinking of being past repair. And I just think everybody should go listen to that song because it's such a it's such a kind of a delicate song, but the lyrics are so kind of out there. Uh, I want to just make sure I get another couple of songs in before I talk about the next bit because um, this was one. There was one that my friend Slav sent me, and I couldn't quite figure it out in my head. Coming Back to Life by Pink Floyd. So please have a listen to that and see what you think about it. But I couldn't quite figure out what it meant. But it obviously meant something to Slav, you know. Um, Fiona sent me Today about the Smashing Pumpkins. I've heard Today about the Smashing Pumpkins so many times. My brother's a big fan of Smashing Pumpkins, and I've never thought of it as I've never listened to the lyrics. Maybe so. It's today is the greatest day I've ever known. Can't live for tomorrow. Tomorrow's much too long. I'll burn my eyes out before I get out. I wanted more than life could ever grant me. Bored by the chore of saving face. Today is the greatest day I've ever known. Can't wait for tomorrow. I might not have that long. I'll tear my heart out before I get out. Pink ribbon scars that never forget. I tried so hard to cleanse these regrets. My angel wings were bruised and restrained. My belly stings. Today is the greatest day. Um, the verse that stands out the most to me is pink ribbon scars because that suggests self harm. Pink ribbon scars that never forget. Obviously, they're there for life. Um, I tried so hard to cleanse my regrets, and my angel wings were bruised and restrained. My belly stings. Uh, and the idea of today is the greatest day. Can't wait for tomorrow. I might not have that long. It pretty much speaks what it says. And I've never, like I said, I've never thought of it as that. Um, and now I'm always going to look at it in a different way, and that's what was so good is with sending this out to people, and people think of these songs as completely different than what I do, and I see things like the Radiohead song and the Soundgarden song, um, and it's just it's makes you think of stuff of things that you've overlooked by artists, or you're thinking like, was that song really about you know going out with your friends and getting drunk, or was it about something completely different, or like were you going out to your friends to get drunk so you could cover up other stuff that was happening within your life? Um, so then again, another thing I wanted to ask about people about, and I did ask, and I got some response about it about does music make you anxious? And it does for me, right? But the first person who responded was Josh, my buddy, and he said that Firestarter was by the Prodigy made him anxious. So I was kind of thinking, like between then and the next text, what about the Prodigy made him anxious? And I was wondering then about is it the beats per minute? Dance music tends to be 120 beats per minute, and then when you go up like to drill and some of the other types of music, you go to 128 beats per minute, and that would make me kind of anxious or confused or I don't know. Like it doesn't sit with me well because I like we play in the gym all the time, dance music, and that's you kind of don't hear it when you're training, and even when you're coaching. Apart from maybe when the people are actually doing the proper workout and it gives you a few minutes to kind of just make sure everything's right, that's when it kind of seeps in and that. But again, you don't get anxious because a safe place or a place that you know. And Josh got back to me and said it wasn't to do with the beats, it was to do with the reminder of being out in pubs and nightclubs and how he didn't particularly like being there. And obviously, Firestarter was something that triggered him before when he was in a pub or a nightclub when he was younger. And to be honest, I would have thought he'd be too young for that. I'm trying to think. Firestarter probably came out around 97, so I would have been 15. So Josh would have been five. No, it was 6 or 7. And but yeah, I did look. Firestarter is very, but I think it's just the fact as well that the delivery in Firestarter, Keith Flint's delivery, like I am the Firestarter, twist that Firestarter, it's very aggressive almost. Um, what he's singing about too is even quite aggressive. He's singing about being an arsonist, basically. So, but I can get that from. I understand that with Josh, like about that, being in the nightclubs and stuff like that, and you're just going into nightclubs really to get drunker than you are. So I totally get that, but you do like for me when I was in nightclubs and stuff like that, it's such an overwhelming thing sometimes. Um, Now this is just my own personal experience, by the way. This isn't talking for everyone, but it's an overwhelming thing being amongst that group of people who have the goals in nightclubs is get drunk or get with you know, another person. That's pretty much it, or both, and then it's happy days. But some people, I shouldn't say there's two. There's three reasons for they being there. Some people like to go in and dance, like, and um, dancing is good for the soul. Lets off steam. It if you're feeling a bit shit, it's good. It moves that kind of feeling. The endorphins go. It's exercise. All those good things. But the overwhelming part for me was, okay, I'm in here to get drunk. Um, there's too many people here for starters. The music is ridiculous. So like ridiculously loud, I should say. So you can't hold a conversation with someone. That's. I mean, you're roaring at each other. How any people hook up in there, I have no idea. That's probably giving away too much about my own life, but it's it's just people standing there hoping to get off with someone, roaring in their faces, and this music is just relentless. Like it never stops for 2, 3 hours. Say if you go to 11, it's over at 2. For 3 hours, it's just bang, and it's those beats per minute, and they're what kind of set me off a little bit. They're the moments of I understand what Josh was coming from. Like Firestarter, if that was playing in a nightclub at full tilt, I would feel anxious. Now, I wouldn't go into a nightclub now. You wouldn't get me into a nightclub now. There's no chance. In fact, I'll put a bet on with anyone out there that they will never be able to get me into a nightclub, no matter how hard they try or the benefits that they say I will get from it. You will never get me a nightclub because of all of what I've just described. And yeah, so Josh, thanks for sending that. But yeah, 120 beats per minute is just too many beats per minute for me. Let me slow it down to about 80 and then just relax. Um, Also, music that makes me anxious at times can be classical music. I spoke about classical music before. The soothing elements of classical music, or when I used to write um short stories that I put on classical music in the background, and there was something quite relaxing about it. There's no obviously without there being lyrics that could um get in the way of your writing and stuff like that, or influence your writing, like listening to Bob Dylan and all of a sudden you're talking about the sun isn't yellow, it's chicken or something, that kind of um the lyrics seeping into your brain and then coming out in your own music without you realizing that you're just ripping off Dylan. But I always thought that Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, symphony, not symphony. Do you know what? I'm going to try and do it now, and just I don't know, maybe just hold the phone away from it, right? But I'll probably get an ad now. But this is the start to this song is so anxiety inducing. It's incredible. Now, I can't imagine what this would have been like back when Beethoven wrote it and it was being performed. how powerful this would have been for people with a full orchestra on stage. So 1 second, this is it now. Well, there's an ad, and that's typical. Sorry, there's an ad for Revolut. Um, Still don't know what that is. I got given out to yesterday for not knowing what that was. Imagine. Okay, here it is. So it's kind of soothing there. Like how, like that to me is the just the sheer power of it, and it's the power of the music, obviously, but it's the power of the instrumentation as well. But just a da, 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 da. um that particular version that's in Beethoven's. If you want to look this up, it's Beethoven's Fifth Symphony in C minor, a chord which isn't used in popular music that often, but um to me that's like that. It's such a statement, I guess that's what I'm going for. Now that's 36 minutes long, by the way. So go and listen to it and relax if you can, or get freaked out if you will. But just and I've heard it in films before and things like that, and it's always kind of stirred something in me. If whether it's anxiety or not, I don't know, but there's a very visceral reaction that I get from it, when that comes on. And what got me thinking about this was, I hope you could hear that, by the way. If you can, please look it up. What got me thinking about that was, I think I mentioned last week or the week before, I'm reading a book about Richard Wagner and uh, what a awful person he is. But it's really to do with how that went. And like, he was very much an anti Semite. And then, down the line, Hitler heard about it and he was like, oh, that's great. He was one of me. He was like me. And then I'll use his music in certain things. And, there was a certain evil attached to Wagner's music. All right. So, went down the wrong way. Excuse me. Um, that's typical, isn't it? Okay, so Richard Wagner, Ride of the Valkyries. There's going to be an ad. Oh, there's not. Okay, you get the point. I can see this. I'll never, because of what I'm reading about him, I'll never be able to get away with this idea of, and we see it all the time, politicians striding out on stage this music, and all I can see now is Hitler coming out to that music, and that's obviously not what happened. He used the music and stuff, but I think it's always been an anxious song for me, because every time I've heard it, it's always in like, it's in films, it's in famously in Apocalypse Now. It's this, it's very strident, that the music, and it's very confident. Both things that I am not. No, but it just has that, like, I know it's different from Beethoven and the Fifth Symphony, and it's a different. There's a different way about it, but it's the on something that's oncoming, something that's approaching. Uh, it freaks me out a little bit, even without knowing the background of Wagner and what came after. It's always been something that's kind of, like, it's very emotive classical music. It's not like the songs that I read out earlier are emotive because of what the singer or the songwriters is saying, But I feel I should put on that Hi Ren and see if I can, maybe, just so you can hear a little bit of it. I think I probably will. But just, it's very emotive, and I just find it incredible. But just listen to this for a second. I'm not going to play it all. It's 9 minutes long, but listen to the classical guitar playing and stuff is amazing. Yeah. Okay.
Always going out there, you know, wrap you down, you know, music every week, and when you please see me, it's been weeks since we spoke, bro, I know you need me, you're the sheep, I'm the shepherd, no place to lead me, no place to be fighting off the hand that feeds me. Hi, Ren. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself since my therapist told me I'm ill. And I've been making some progress lately, and I've learned some new coping skills. So I haven't really needed much, man. I think we need to just step back and chill. Bren, you sound more insane than I do. The thing that I've got is really that the guy you've been through this a million times of a billion, man.
Listen, please go listen to Hi Ren by Ren. It's 9 minutes long. Obviously, I can't play it in here. The full part. I hope you could hear it, but it's one of the most incredible pieces of music that or evocative and honest piece of music that I've heard in a long time. And look, people know that I do not have my finger on the pulse when it comes to popular music of modern day. And but when I first heard that, I was like thinking, God, this fella's talented. And I heard some of his other stuff, and he's an incredible songwriter. And for to be out there putting out this, stuff about his mental health is amazing. And for the hits, like it's everywhere. It's hit so many people. But yeah, to kind of wrap it all up, that's kind of the way musicians or artists can put this out and you know inspire younger people to kind of maybe look at themselves and think, maybe do I have stuff that I need to talk about before things get worse. I think it's so important. I also wanted to talk just a little bit about if it's possible, like for songwriters or authors or filmmakers to appropriate mental illness to create art, because we hear about like cultural appropriation in mostly in the book world, and how like white people trying to write about the black experience or the Hispanic experience. There's been a little bit of controversy in the last few years about that, like because look, I can't write about a black American's experience in Detroit. It doesn't make any sense. So could somebody write about bipolar disorder that they've never known what it is? Like, can they read up about it and start writing about it, or is that like because you wonder like they could probably do a very good job or whatever, but maybe they don't do a good job, and maybe they use what we see as the cartoonish the caricatured version of what mental health is, and maybe make it, make a dent in people's ideas of it, because we're pushing forward with what the music we're talking about. Um, like Hi Ren there, for instance, we're pushing forward in how we're thinking about it, but can someone do it damage in that way? And I kind of got to wondering about that, because I thought if I was to take something within the book world, within the literature world, I just think I don't think the bell jar, could have been written by someone who hadn't like the bell jar. People don't know was written by Sylvia Plath, the poet, who experienced a lot of mental health issues, and I don't think that could be written by a person who hadn't suffered with some sort of mental illness. And I think it's not something that I've heard being spoken about, but I know that people write about mental health in certain ways, who may not have had experiences of it. And I think what it's used as is um I'm trying to remember the novel. It might have been The Marriage Plot by Jeffrey Eugenides, but it may not. I actually can't think of which the novel is, but or was it The Virgin Suicides? Either way, there was a novel where, and this happens often, like whereas these periphery characters are the ones that they write about as people who have mental health issues, and they're kind of hidden away in the corner and thought of as like, oh, don't go near them. They have this or they have this, and they should be left alone. And there's a kind of boogeyman element to it. It can happen a lot, Now, I'm not saying like in music, I don't think it can do as much damage if they're writing about mental health in a song as they would do damage to mental health if they're writing about it in a book or a longer form, in a film even. And I wonder if this is something that will be highlighted at some point, is something that maybe it shouldn't be done. Unless it's done right. But then how do we judge it's done right? We can't have a panel of people to say, "Oh yeah, well that's about mental health. That's okay." But this one is not. Like who's to say which can come and which can go? But I think the people who have suffered with mental health will always be able to write, obviously, of the experience far better than someone who hasn't. And I think it's very important that that's addressed. Now, that's not to say that, it's people's private lives as well, them to come out and say, well, I wrote about this because I have, because I suffer with depression and stuff like that. We don't need that. Like, it's not like a passport to writing about mental health. But I just think it's interesting to think about if this is going to become as the more we talk about it, is this become more of a thing that people are going to write about it, but maybe not with the best intentions, maybe with the one finger on the pulse of what we're talking about culturally, like or people just going to use it to kind of benefit off it, to profit off the idea of using characters who suffer with mental health to be the oddballs, in a story. That's definitely what used to happen, and I'm not saying it's happening now, but it just made me think about it and hoping that it doesn't. Um, just to speed read through some of this. So we had Outshined by Soundgarden. We had How to Disappear Completely by Radiohead. If the Brakeman Turns My Way by Bright Eyes. Lithium by Nirvana. Hi Ren by Ren. Hurt by Nine Inch Nails. Numb Little Boy by Emmy, what was it, Bayhold? I'd probably mispronounced that. Coming Back to Life by Pink Floyd. Today by the Smashing Pumpkins. Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, say it right. And Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries. Like I said, I'll put that up on our social media pages, just a little playlist if you want to go back and listen to the ones I was talking about. So, like I said, I read out the lyrics, but it's good to get the music that goes along with it because that's a lot of power on that too. They're all great songs, by the way. So that's it. Yeah, thank you very much to John, for doing his thing. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was something I was kind of looking forward to doing. Yeah, I'm glad I did it. It's probably something that's been in the back of my mind, but to get it out there and have a little solo episode now and again to catch up with you, it's good too. Thanks to my mom, my dad, my granddad, Jaron Calvin. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So is the Lucky Works Co podcast if you want to check that out or follow us or whatever. We're on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. We will be back next week with a guest. And once again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, see you later.